Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. My name's Luke Dam. I'm the CEO of SafetyWise, and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Conversations for Change. If this is your first time listening to us, Conversations of Change is where we talk with seasoned and experienced safety professionals, and we talk about their life and their journey into safety and things they've learned along the way, things they do differently, and so forth. Joining me today is Marcel Vanderwall. Welcome, Marcel. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for the invite. Happy to be here. Let's
Thanks,
have a
mate.
good
So, just for
conversation.
everyone's benefit, where are you calling in from?
I'm in Hermosillo, Mexico, which is currently my hometown.
Awesome. How long you been there?
About 14 years in total.
There you go. So it's still new according to the locals.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into it. This is going to be an interesting one. I've had a few conversations with Marcel over the last few years, and he's got some stories. So I think this is going to be quite fascinating. So, mate, let's get right into the nitty gritty of it. What was it that drew you into health and safety?
Well, I never really thought I would end up in safety, but it was
Yep.
truly by accident.
Yep.
I was born in the Netherlands, and one day I decided to go for the big adventure and move to Canada.
Yep.
Met some people there who took me in, tried to help me get me on my feet, and I found a job quickly in the oil field as a mechanic. So, yes, I started in a conventional workplace, a
Yep.
job that just paid the bills. I need to get my bills paid and follow the regular rhythms of the daily routine of a 9 to 5 job. But one day, everything changed. A sudden, devastating workplace incident left me physically and emotionally shaken. The recovery from that was long and also somewhat isolating. But after getting back to the workplace, what hit harder than the injury itself was that I found that nothing had changed. No corrective actions, no learning, no accountability, no urgency to prevent it from happening again. So, no meaningful safety improvements, no acknowledgement of the risk, no steps taken to protect others from growing through what I just had endured.
Yep.
That moment was for me a turning point.
Yep.
I could have gone back to the routine, but something inside me said, no, you cannot accept this silence and this inaction following such a serious event. So I made a decision. I was going to change the system from the inside out.
Mm.
I realized I could not go back to that same workplace. I came back 4 weeks in the hospital, 2 weeks at home, trying to do everything yourself again. Coming back to that place, I saw my bloody clothes in a plastic bag on my
Mm.
workbench. And
Mm.
I said, I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm.
So that's when I made the decision to go back to school. I studied health and safety in every possible way I could. I wanted to understand the systemic gaps, the risks hidden in plain sight, and the ways we could build workplaces that truly protected people. But the deeper I went, the more I saw that when prevention fails, lives truly hang into the balance.
Mm.
So when I got into the field, right out of school, I was picked up by a mining contractor. And the deeper I went into it, the more I realized a hard truth. No matter how strong your prevention strategies are, things will still go wrong at some point. And when they do, people will suffer. Some will lose everything. So I thought someone has to be ready to respond. So that's how I got into safety 27 years ago, because I had a life altering experience because of a work related accident.
It's an interesting experience, isn't it? I think many safety people, we talk about being prepared for when an incident happens and things you've got to do. You've got your emergency management plans. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to do this. But when it actually happens, that's jarring, and it's. I think it's especially jarring because it's potentially people people you work with. It's a friend. It's a work colleague, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That really changes perspectives, doesn't it?
Well, it has an impact. I mean, imagine your own pain and suffering, the shame that you got this incident. But when you're laying there in your hospital bed and family and friends are coming to visit, their world is falling apart at the same time. So
Mm.
when we do safety not right, it just doesn't impact each and every person, but it impacts everything around it. And that's for generations to come.
Absolutely. Look, and we talk about the ripple effect in incidents. I mean, you've got the people, immediately involved in the incident, witness the incident. Then you've got your first responders. Then you've got your site members. You've got you've got the investigators, the family, the friends. Like it's way bigger than just the half a dozen people that are there on the day, isn't it?
Absolutely, and
Yeah,
that made me realize another thing: if something happens? What if safety goes wrong? So that realization led me to the emergency services. I became a firefighter paramedic to be
yeah,
prepared on the other side
yeah,
when safety goes wrong.
yeah, for sure. So, what was the actual very first safety job you did?
I worked for a mining contractor. They had a rebuild shop in Nisku, Alberta. All the machines that come out of the mine, they need to be repaired. They did the rebuilding job, and they picked me up because their safety director had just left the company, and they were without safety people. So they said, "You got the newest, the freshest information, so come work with us." And from there on, working 2.5 years with this mining contract, that they sent me to a BHP site somewhere in Canada,
Hmm.
where the company there said, "Hey, you got all the new stuff. You are very well prepared." Because by that time, I was a full-fledged firefighter, paramedic, but also a safety professional.
Hmm.
So I became a safety coordinator at a mine site in the north of Canada. And from there on, because I started doing things differently, your name starts floating around. And then the calls come in. 3 year working at that site, another company out of Canada called and said, "Hey, we hear so much about you. You got to come work for us." And that's when I changed jobs again, getting involved with a company that was represented in 24 different countries. So I really felt I could multiply my efforts, not just in one location, but go internationally as well.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm not sure that I know too many other industries or jobs you could do like safety, where one, for want of a better word, it's a very incestuous industry. Everyone knows everyone. People know people, and people bring people they know into businesses, and you can move around. And
Yeah,
in your case, literally move around
yeah.
and travel the world doing jobs, can't you? It's quite fascinating.
Well, I've worked so far in 69 different countries, speak five
Oh, is that
different
all?
languages.
Only 69.
Only 69.
Give us a quick rundown. What's been the most challenging place you've worked at in terms of country, and what made it challenging?
Believe it or not, that would be the Netherlands.
Yeah, go on. Now, let's just talk. That's your accent, isn't it? That's your
That's my,
background and heritage?
that's where I was born.
Yep. So,
Uh,
what made it challenging?
a couple of years back, you expect a country like Netherlands, where the best engineers in the world come
I
from,
was going to say that. Yeah.
they would have safety down to a T. I was called by a construction company, a national construction company, and they said, "Mars, hey, I hear you're doing all these things. You're doing coaching, you're doing management systems. Can you come talk to us?" So I sat down with the owner of the company, and he wrote 6 pages full of notes after because he thought it was fascinating. He said, "You got to talk to my directors." He had three different directions: construction, cleaning, and rail. So I set up a meeting with his directors, did a whole presentation, and they said, "This is fascinating." They said, "Give me a quote. Give us a quote. What you gonna do for us? We need this. We need this." I put the quote together, went to the next meeting, and they looked at it and said, "That's irresponsible to invest money in safety."
Oh, wow.
And my mouth literally fell to the floor.
Yeah.
And I said, "You guys in this country, technologically so far advanced, and you guys talking about this?" I did interviews with their personnel. One guy had his arm almost ripped off, and they just spent 5 minutes on it in a lineup meeting. Like, don't do that again. One guy almost drowned. And when I did some interviews with supervisors, it's just a waste of time, safety. And
Wow.
that
Now,
was that was
so
really.
is that a Dutch thing, or is that that business or that industry? What is that? Is the
It's a Dutch thing. Lo and behold, about 2 weeks later, they had a big convention going on for the construction industry in the country, and I was invited to come along. So I had the opportunity to talk to a whole lot of people more. And I got the same responses. It was irresponsible. So I signed up with the organization there for investigations that does all the investigations when things go wrong. So I started talking to the director of that, and he looked at me like a deer in the headlights, like I was way, way, way too advanced.
Wow.
And I walked away. I shook everybody's hand, and I almost flipped them the finger because I was really, really upset because this is not the way you do it. If you go around in Latin America, when the boss says be safe, everybody's going to be safe to an extent. But countries like that, with these kind of attitudes, it was just terrible.
Is it an arrogance thing? What is it? It
I'm not
is. Do
sure.
they have the legislation to back it up, or it's just not? That it fascinates me.
Yeah, they have everything. They have systems in place. They have a risk management system in place that everybody has to adhere to. Doesn't matter what kind of industry you are. It's called the risk inventory and evaluations, and it's so complex that one company actually called me and said, "Can you make sense out of this for me?"
Hmm.
So a risk matrix from 100 by 100, I turned it back into a 5 by 5 risk matrix, and he said, "Yeah, I can work with this." But they want to complicate it so much, and they call it the safety ladder in that country. So with that risk inventory and evaluation, everybody has to adhere to it. And 2 years ago, they had to be at least at rung number two in that ladder. And so when I did some interviews with other companies, no, we're at step number four. I said, well, let's show me your documentation. I'll be happy to quickly review it for you. They weren't even close. They just invented things. You have to go online and answer a bunch of questions, and as long as that's positive, you get another rung. I'm
Gee,
like,
isn't that fascinating?
is that the way you do things here in this country? No wonder why people get hurt. And it's one after the other. I mean, I did a little bit of investigation on incident and injuries. Well, it's astonishing, and nobody cares.
I wouldn't have picked that, for a first world country. And as you said at the start of that, so advanced, just incredible knowledge and yeah, capability. You wouldn't pick that.
Well, my mother still lives in the Netherlands, so once a year at least I go visit her, and she was living in a condo complex, and the home owners association there every once in a while do maintenance. She calls me. She says, Marcel, you're a safety expert. Can you come to my condo? I said, what's going on, Mom? But I said, I'm coming. I'm on the way. I walked into the apartment. I see a guy in slippers, no protective gear, spraying the ceiling with some toxic substance. And I said, buddy, come down for a second. Do you know what you are doing? I said, you have no PPE. You're working at height, so you should at least have some precautions in place. And you know what he said? I'm insured. I'm okay. And that is the answer in the Netherlands. I do have insurance, so I'm okay. And I said to the guy, I said, but if you lose an eye, tomorrow morning the insurance company is standing on your doorstep. Here's a new eye. I said, you got to be proactive so you don't need your insurance. You can even lower your injury, your rates by not getting injured. But people don't understand it. I am insured, so everything is okay.
So, how many countries did you say? 60, how many?
69
69. So, and 27 years.
in 27 years, yes.
So, surely at some stage you have sat back staring at your belly button going, what the hell am I doing? This is not the career for me.
Yes, that is correct. Actually, that was in 2015.
Yep.
I was at a mine site in Honduras, and I was working 16-hour days every day, 5 to whatever it took. And every incident, they wake you up as well. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done with this. I'm not gaining any ground. So I said, I'm going to do something different. The buzzword at the time was coaching. So I said, okay, I'm going to investigate coaching. So I spent 3 months investigating what is coaching. And if you
Yeah.
talk about coaching, there's so many different kinds of coaching. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, this is something I want to do. Business coaching, organizational coaching, executive coaching, suit and tie. That's my thing. Making the big bucks. And then, so I thought, how do you become a coach? So I spent another 3 months investigating what are the best schools to become a coach. Well, for $100, you can get a certificate online that you're now a coach. And everybody nowadays wants to be a coach, but that doesn't make you a coach. So
No.
I invested a lot of money with the International Coaching Council, and I said, if I'm going to be a coach, I'm going to be the best coach there is. So I invested a lot of money, and about a year later, I graduated as a certified master coach level one with the ICC.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that didn't solve my problem yet. I thought, what am I going to do with it now? Am I
Mm,
going to
mm.
start my own business? How am I going to incorporate it in my consulting? How am I going to do that? So then my coach called me and said, why don't you go for level two right away? I said, okay, that sounds interesting, but where do I get the money? Fortunately, my employer at the time, we were at a good standing. He said, I'll sponsor you this. So lo and behold, a year later, I was a certified master coach level two. Coming out of the school banks, and I thought, what am I going to do now? It still didn't click for me. Lo and behold, a little while later, my coach called me again. He said, go for level three, then you can certify your own coaches. I said, okay, cool. So I went for level three, and he said, but you have to hand in a project. So I'm looking at him like, what am I going to do? What kind of project? There is so many forms of coaching out there already. And he said, what have you been doing for the last 20 years? I said, safety. So what are you going to talk about? I don't know. He said, come on, wake up, man. Smell the coffee. And then it clicked. I said, safety coaching. So I put together a safety coaching process. And lo and behold, it didn't exist at the time.
Mm.
And as of little time ago, it did not exist at all.
Mm.
So right now we've developed that into really something futuristic that's really going to change the way we do safety. But coaching is the thing. I'm like a fish in the water right now with the coaching and the safety combined, or the coaching and the leadership thing combined. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really making a big difference.
Yeah, cool, cool. Let's explore that a bit more later on. I want to talk more about that because I think there's a lot in that. So, over your 27 years, Marcel, how did you sort of go from this doing safety to leading safety? Like, how do you do that mind shift?
Well, it in the beginning it's kind of frustrating because you have a boss and you report
Mm.
to the boss. And I was working at a place that people got promoted into management position, not really knowing what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So you're starting to think like, hey, I know this better than you. How come you are giving me instructions? And I said, no, I got to move up the ladder. I got to do something more. I got to develop people. I just don't want them walking around doing their job. So that's when I started learning more, investigating more, developing my own programs. And lo and behold, suddenly, bit by bit, people started recognizing that. And my first corporate role came shortly after that, where a drilling company said, hey, you really got the stuff, come work with
Mm.
us.
Mm.
So, but it was never for me stick at one place. I mean, making a good buck is good. I mean, we all need money to go around, but
Sure.
it's never really been my driving factor. Getting people home safe at the end of the day, the same way they came to work, that's my passion, and we got to do what we got to do to make that happen.
Absolutely. So let's talk a bit about the ethics in safety. You're sitting at your desk and the boss comes in, you're working through we'll take an investigation for argument's sake. And the boss says, nah, don't look at that. Don't report that. We need to find blame with this or that person or that company. How do you handle that? And let's go back, over your 27 years. Have you had that sort of challenge, and then how have you handled it, and what have you learned from that?
I've been in that situation a few times, to be honest. Unfortunately, where I'm reporting to a manager that doesn't know anything about safety. They rotate their people, and at one point he was assigned to be manager of health and safety. And unfortunately, there was still a few incidents happening, and I was involved in the ICAM investigations, making it happen. And then you
Yep.
get told, "Don't report this, don't report that," and it gets my blood boiling, because why not report it? These are learning opportunities.
Mm,
Unfortunately,
mm,
we had an incident. Maybe somebody got injured. We got to take care of that. Maybe some property damage. We got to fix it to stop it from happening again. So when
mm.
people say don't report it, I'm not in agreement. I report it anyways. And if it costs me my job the next day, well, so be it.
Has
But
it cost you your job? Have you walked away from a job or been told to go?
yeah, yeah, once.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you
they,
leave or they told you to leave?
No, I left. They wanted to transfer me to a different department. And I said, yeah, I was prepared for that because I knew what I'd done. So I had my resignation letter already ready to go. So when they said, we're going to transfer you to a different department, I said, here's my resignation letter because I don't believe in what you guys are doing. And I
Yeah.
still won't.
It's a big thing. And I got to be honest, I don't think people that are entering the safety industry sort of expect to have that sort of moment. And yet it happens. I've been put in that position numerous times. Even now with safety wise, I take and manage all the investigations we do globally. And I still get calls today in 2025 where a company will say to me on the phone, we need you to find fault with this company. Or the other conversation, we talk about what do we need to do the investigation. And I'll talk, oh, we need access to this person, this person, this person. Oh, you can't access that person. We've already sacked them.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
And we're not talking little panel beater companies, with six people, operating in the back of Melbourne. We're talking about multinational, multi-billion dollar businesses that still have this mentality.
It's
It's
sad.
scary.
We're living in 2025, and if we're still not understanding the mentality, or it has a ripple effect, not only for the injuries, the effect it has on people, but also for your organization. Productivity will go down because of the morale inside your company.
Yeah,
The way people deal with one another is going down.
yeah.
I applied a coaching process with the company where people finally started talking to each other. Not only did safety improve by 67% in a few months, but their productivity also augmented by 12% positively. So getting safety right, getting the right attitudes in there, getting the right leadership, it will change everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Unfortunately, safety is seen as an expense for so many businesses.
Yeah,
Um, Everything about it.
it's not a
Yeah.
cost, it's an investment.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
the way I
Absolutely.
see it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So if you were to go back 27 years ago, Marcel, to that first job in the mining company in your safety role there, what would you tell yourself with today's knowledge? What's that one bit of advice?
Um, the way I would think before I act, because it's like an elephant in the porcelain cabinet. Because I want to get it right, this is the way we're going to do it, and you strike people against the hairline, and it's not really working. If you want to get cooperation from other people, have the conversation. Ask a lot of questions on how they feel, how they see it, what they think could be done differently, and
Whoa,
that
whoa, whoa,
gets
whoa, 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 stop. Have conversations.
have
What?
conversations. Yes.
What's that stuff you're talking about?
Well, this is me more talking as a coach, but I know
Yeah,
it works. Having these
yeah,
conversations really gets people talking about what they feel, and you bring the solution together. Or
yeah.
with your questioning, you guide them to their own answers. You guide them to their own why, and that changes everything.
So safety cop isn't in your vocabulary?
No,
No. That was a pretty firm no.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
no, no. Once I get started about talking about safety, man, it just everything starts
yeah.
moving inside me.
Look,
My
and I'm sure, like I was years ago, you were probably the safety cop, just like I was, in the early days. And I don't know. For me, I don't know what the trigger was, but I just remember waking up one day going, "This isn't working.
well,
Something's got to change." And lo and behold, you've got to have conversations. You've got to get out from behind the desk. You've got to walk the floor and talk to people.
Well, once you start growing in that role, one company asked me to do some training with their supervisors, and they all came in, long hair, tattoos, missing parts of their body. Like, we're the tough guys, and whatever happens, happens, and we just got to go on. 5 days later, they walked away crying because they finally understood
Yeah,
that there is more to it than just being a tough guy and
yeah,
sweeping things under the rug. That there is way more to it. And that's what we got to bring to people. What are we
I,
doing for safety?
yeah. I remember having a conversation with my dad before he passed away years ago, and Dad said to me, "You safety people are the ones that stopped us doing our job."
Yeah,
And that hurt. That hit hard. Now we spoke about that numerous times after that conversation, and it wasn't necessarily his full belief, but that was the perception that safety had. You stop us doing our job.
yeah, and it's still very much alive because when I talk about safety with groups, I talk about the slogan "Safety First."
Mm,
And I don't know how freely I can speak, but it's
do it.
really not the truth. It's
It's
bullshit.
not. Let's talk about that because it's so not the truth. I mean, if it was safety first, Marcel, we would not even pick up a tool.
That's right. We would
Yeah,
fix so many things first, and
yeah,
productivity is going down the drain. So you might as
correct.
well shut your company doors.
Correct.
Safety and production need to go hand in hand,
Yeah,
and that's the only as sustainable, safe production is what I call it in that
yeah,
regard. One
yeah,
cannot be without the other, and
yeah,
unfortunately, it's still like that in so many different industries. Production
yeah.
needs to go, so get it done.
Yeah, I think many people have this idea that safety is this thing you switch on, switch off, or you're bolted onto an activity. You don't. You embed it into your day to day. It's safety always. It's not safety first. It's how we do things.
It's how we do things. It's got to be built in your NDA, your personal
Yeah,
NDA, your company NDA. But that culture change requires persistence.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. So, how do over the years you've obviously coached and mentored people that are entering into the safety profession? How have you encouraged them to sort of find their voice? Because that's a big thing. I interviewed Sam Lloyd last week, and Sam made the comment, and I think it's so true. He said, you go into a shutdown, for example, and he said there's some smart people in that room. Those planners and those engineers. He said there's some highly educated people there, and it's intimidating. How do you encourage people to find their voice and to figure out where they fit in and what value they bring?
Well, normally I tell people grow a pair.
Mm,
And if you firmly believe in something, you got to fight for it. And I give them ways to do that. I stand in front of groups a lot doing motivational speeches on safety, and
yep.
that changes the perspective of these genius leaders. But they also have to understand safety. So the same here. Go enter in that conversation. Say, listen, can I talk to you for a second? This is what I discovered, and this is what I think we should do. Can I have some feedback on that? So
Mm,
include people in there rather than telling them how things should be done.
yep.
Go engage in that conversation and ask for feedback, ask for input. So it becomes their own as well. And in the
Yep.
beginning, it's scary. I understand,
Mm,
especially if you're talking to the CEO of a company. But if that's the right leader, he will listen to you and go into that conversation. So when
mm,
I talk to my people, when I develop people, this is what I tell them: go enter in the conversation. Yeah, it's scary in the beginning, but a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So once you have had that first conversation, the
mm,
next one becomes easier. The next one becomes even easier. So then,
mm.
if you encounter a lot of resistance, maybe you're not in the right spot. Maybe you're not with the right company. You got to look at yourself, look in the mirror, and say, "What do I want? Where do I want to go? How do I see that happen?" And talk to people, talk to your mentors, talk to your teachers, talk to your instructors. Go find your own way, but you have to do it. A lot of people
Yeah.
in their regular jobs, when the boss says jump, everybody says how high. And I
Mm,
say why.
mm,
What's the purpose of jumping? What do
mm.
you want to accomplish with that? I'll be
Yeah.
happy to jump, but it needs to have a purpose for me. So that's the kind of
Yeah.
conversations that I will enter in.
For sure. What's a good safety culture look like to you?
where safety is openly discussed, where you see each other, where you look out for each other. When you see something unsafe, you correct it together. You talk about it together through observations and then implement the corrective actions. Report that as, listen, we have encountered this. This is how we fix this. Please let us know if there's anything else we need to do. That's a good safety culture. A safety culture where you don't need safety people anymore because everybody becomes their own safety person. That to me is the ultimate safety culture where
Mm.
there is no more safety people needed.
Yeah, fair call. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, Clearly, 27 years. You're clearly passionate about it. You love it. That's and
Still,
enthusiastic about it. But how do you sustain that? I mean, I've gone through my moments plenty of times where I just go, I'm done.
well, I'm always on the go. I always look for new things to improve upon.
I have noticed that.
There is so much more we can do. So
Yep.
the 5 by 5 risk matrix is now the 6 by 6 matrix because it gives a little bit more detail. It helps people identify the level of risk a little bit more easy, but not just in safety, also in the personal area. I love learning. I love investigating. There's so many things, and I did a online assessment not too long ago, and it came out that Marcel has more ideas in one in one day than most people have in 6 months. And
I like that.
and I think that's what keeps me going because I'm passionate about keeping things safe. And you just asked the question, how would that look for you? I lived in Canada for a while, and safety was everything for me. I lived on an acreage, and I had two fireplaces in the house to keep the house warm in the winter. But I also needed to cut trees to get the wood. So one day I'm cutting wood, beautiful summer day, and here comes my 8-year-old boy. He's got his hard hat on, glasses on, safety vest, gloves, his chaps, and his safety boots. And I said to him, I said, what are you going to do? He said, I'm coming to help you. I said, you're well prepared. And he looked at me, we got to do it safe, Papa. And and that was a
That's good.
defining moment. Like, yeah, I live it, I breathe it. It's important. Uh, my children never get into real big incidents because they do it safety consciously. So that's what this is about.
If your kids came to you and said, Dad, I want to do a career in safety, what are you going to say to them?
I said, go for it. I'll help you. I'll help you all the way.
Yep.
Actually, recently my son came back to me. He's now 27, so it's quite some time ago. He said, "I want to get involved in your business. I want to learn safety. I want to learn the coaching stuff. I want to get involved." I thought, well, that's really cool. He's a mechanical engineer, and he really finds the passion that I show. He finds it really effectuous. He said, "I really like what you're doing, and I want to get involved." So yeah, go
Mm,
for it. I'll prepare
mm.
him. I have all the right people around him to do his educations, to do his development is not only going to come from me. I'll connect him with all the right people so we can start growing in that direction.
Yeah, cool, cool. What would be one of the most significant incidents you've investigated? You don't need to give details about the company and so forth, but and what made it significant for you?
Well, in my career, I have unfortunately investigated 12 fatalities.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. What is the biggest impact when you start dealing with the families?
It's emotion.
It's one of these incidents when I got there working with we were invited to the funeral as well, and nobody from the company wanted to take the front step and say, hey, I'll be engaged with you, I'll do a few words. So it fell on my plate. And when you see the pain, the suffering, the loss on these people's faces, you think we got to do more. We're not even close to being done with this because the parents devastated, the family, the wife, the kids devastated, his kids devastated. So safety not done properly affects generations.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and and that's what impacted me most. I had the fortune of investigating a big incident in Chile, that sinkhole.
Yes.
Fortunately, nobody got injured, no property damage other than a big sinkhole, and the sinkhole is even growing as we speak. But those kind of experiences really shape you, because you go so deep in the investigation. You look at so many different departments, how people perform, how they perform with one another, and you see so many deficits in the systems, in the processes, that we're not even close to being there.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And I think let's talk about that sinkhole one for a minute. And that's a very different type of incident. You know, people talk about safety and talk about investigations. We expect, you know, the truck rollover, the forklift hit someone, whatever it may be. A sinkhole is, in the scheme of things, is not that traditional safety thing, is it? It's a very different type of beast.
Yeah, but it's still an incident. Imagine
Yes.
that people are still mining underground there, and that
Yeah.
whole piece of earth comes tumbling down. A lot of people could have been buried in that
Yeah.
particular instance.
Absolutely.
And
Um,
fortunately, it didn't happen. But
no.
again, it's going back to how do we work with one another? What we discovered is we don't like each other, so we're not going to communicate, and that's where it started to go wrong. And then you go look at the leadership at other levels, and there is just not enough support, not enough guidance. And okay, this one didn't have injury or property damage, but it could have easily been well occurred.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that interesting? This such a big, significant incident, and I'm very familiar with it. I've seen photos and so forth, and read the reports. Um, you know, a lot of it's triggered by communication. Who would have thought?
Yep, communication. And there we
Yeah,
go back to having the conversation, which is
yeah,
another form of communication to get safety right.
yeah, yeah. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, absolutely. Just very quickly, what was the dimensions of that sinkhole at the time? It was huge.
55 meters in diameter and 200 meters deep.
Yeah, and you said it's still growing.
It's still growing. It's now almost 100 meters in diameter. Um,
Wow.
the town of in the neighborhood there that was without water is still being challenged. So that's 3 years down the road.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Another one of those ripple effects, you know, a whole community affected by an incident. Again, people probably wouldn't comprehend that. It's not doesn't sit
Well,
front and center in your mind.
yeah, when you talk about safety and health and safety in this particular case, the town doesn't get supplied enough water. So how are you going to shower? Which brings forward bacteria and go on and go on and go on. Again, it's a ripple effect which would
Mm.
have a health and safety impact down the road.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, what's your go-to bit of advice when you're dealing with complex situations, complex problems?
Sit down and think before you act, because there is sit down first and do a quick analysis of it. Get yourself some real good tools where you can do a quick analysis and engage in conversations. Don't just start acting on a hunch. Just make sure that you come to the table well prepared to have those tough conversations.
I think it's very easy, and I've been there myself. I think it's very easy for safety people to quickly jump too quick.
Yeah,
We suddenly start hypothesizing. This happened. This could have. This could have. This could have. Just stop. Take a breath, and let's just think this through.
that's because still safety is done in that way.
Yeah.
Most organizations around the globe, safety people are safety police, the safety cops,
Mm.
and safety has to respond. There is an
Yeah.
incident. Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters? No, not ghost. Call
Yeah.
safety, and
Yeah.
they have to deal with it. They have to mop up
Yeah.
the pieces, and they have to start the investigation. It should not work that way,
No,
because
I
as
don't. I don't want this to become a marketing tool for ICANN, but I think this is what I like about the Pipo Mark One. This is your moment to just think through all the possible scenarios of what could have contributed to this incident.
yeah.
Let's not jump to a conclusion. Let's park the bias and let's look at everything.
Well,
So powerful.
Yeah, as a safety professional, I only work with as an investigation tool with the ICAM, and I wanna confirm that on this podcast. I'm not on the payroll of SafetyWise,
Mm, mm,
but I believe in this process so much. I
mm,
consider it almost my own because you know
mm,
what? It works every single time. If
mm,
you're investigating a cut in the finger by a piece of paper in the office, or a huge incident in mining, constructing, or whatever, wherever you apply it, it just works.
yes.
Just follow the steps, and it works. And it's not focused on who we're going to blame. And that's another bonus point of this process. We're not focusing on blame. We're focusing on the learning experience. How do we going to get better? How do
Yeah.
we prevent recurrence of the incident? But how, as an organization, can we get better from it? And that's the beauty of that whole
Yeah.
process. And that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, for sure. How do you how do you handle, putting in place and coming up with, I guess, for want of a better word, pragmatic solutions without lowering and compromising standards and compliance? How do you juggle the two?
Um, well, there's no way you can juggle compliance, but you can make compliance better.
Mm,
I've done investigations, an investigation in Mexico where the government was all over that and they were hammering on that compliance. So when I started investigating and looking at things from different angles and say, look at this is the result. And they said, hey, maybe we need to adjust our compliance because there is opportunities for improvement. The
mm,
only way is you got to bring it in a way that's friendly, not accusing them of not having it right. Just say, hey, here's some opportunity. This is what I came up with. Give me some feedback on this. But the rules, the law, you cannot mess with that. But there's always opportunity to get it better. And for example, here in Mexico, there's still laws adapted, new norms coming out, new regulations coming out based on those kind of investigations. So it is possible, but you got to build that relationship with all the parties involved.
I swear you're reading my questions because I was literally just about to ask you, how do you give feedback without causing, defensiveness?
Build the relationship. Just state what we're facing. We're all
Yeah,
facing the same thing. Are we in agreement? Yes. Okay. Well, let me know everybody's observations, their thoughts. What can we do different? And
yeah,
then in the end, I'll come in with my observations, my findings, and I'll just try to manage that into, hey, it was actually your guys' idea, so let's go with it. It's
yeah,
it's it's building the relationship with everybody, making sure that everybody understand that you're not the enemy,
yeah.
that you're there to help them solve the puzzle and make it better. And the relationship building is so important in that case.
Mm, mm. How do you how do you manage your mental health and your well-being? How do you manage stress?
Personally, very poorly.
Go on.
Fortunately,
That's a very candid response. Go on.
I got so much on the go. I'm always stressed. I travel a lot from here to there. At one point in 7 weeks, I was in 14 different countries, and that's kind of stressful. Standing in line to get on the plane, find a taxi to the hotel, or rent a vehicle, it's always stressful. However, I have a wonderful wife. She makes sure that my mental and physical health stays in order. I eat well. She's a chef, she's a nurse, she's all kinds of things, and she makes sure that I get what I need to help me put that in order. So if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
And it's so important, though, isn't it? Because it is a stressful job. You're juggling a lot of things, and you're dealing with some very complex situations which have big consequences, don't they?
Well, I love what I do and I do what I love. But
Mm,
once you are on your way, you have several stops on your way to the next destination, and your third flight has been canceled, and you're standing there at 7 o'clock p.m., and they say, you're not going to go anywhere until 6 a.m. the next morning. Well, I know at 8 a.m. I have to be at a meeting, that becomes very stressful. How do you
Mm,
manage that? Well,
mm.
find a hotel, call everybody, let everybody know, and throw it in the group, and somebody will help find a solution. Which I've noticed, I'm working with a real good group that really pitches in regularly,
Mm.
and that relieves a lot of my stress as well, knowing that you're supported by really really good people. They don't ask too many difficult questions. They will, but after it's fixed.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, look, and there's always going to be those moments are out of your control. I mean, just accept it.
You got to just accept it and
Mm.
let it go. Lately, I'm doing a lot better because even my wife says, "You're so much calmer." I said, "Yeah, because I feel that I got things under control." And why stress over something that you can't fix? Well, there's
Yeah,
no need
for
to
sure.
stress. Why stress over something that you can fix? So why stress?
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Let's move forward a bit. We're seeing a lot of emergence now in pretty much every industry around technology and AI and that sort of stuff. Where do you see safety going? How do you see AI and technology affecting our roles in safety?
I think it's going to shift the responsibility from a personal issue to a technological issue. I don't see that as a positive development at all. Because if I still have to turn that wrench, I still better do it in the safe way. Or am I going look in my app how to turn the wrench safely? So we're going to shift that responsibility and I'm going to say, hey, was it my fault? The app told me incorrectly. The second thing is AI is a wonderful tool, but whatever you put in AI is suddenly public knowledge. And I don't believe in that either. I like to keep my own things private.
Mm,
Yeah, there's some good questions to ask and you get some good answers. But oh man, I think we're going way too far with that and shifting our responsibility to other things that we cannot control later on.
mm. I've been watching with interest. There's some companies out there that are using AI for investigations, and I've said to a few people, AI can't read emotions. AI is not going to read an emotion in an interview. It may
No.
give you all the questions, and it may give you some really good questions that you haven't considered, and it may analyze things, but it can't
Yeah,
take away that interaction, can it? It can't replace
absolutely
that interaction. Sorry, I should say.
not at all. It's not a conversation anymore. It's just black and white. Here's the question. What's the answer? And it'll help you formulate the answer you're getting beautifully. It'll write it beautifully, but it's not the reality. What if you sit in front of somebody? Might be a humongous guy who just saw his buddy fall from a scaffold and break his neck, and you're asking all the tough questions. AI can fix that
Mm,
in no way, shape, or form. We
mm,
have to have that open and honest and emotional conversation. What
yeah,
we do, what we do when we're interviewing, we're actually asking the witnesses to relive the situation. We're bringing them back to that situation in order to extract information that we can use to implement controls that should stop it from happening again.
mm,
But
mm,
I don't think AI or technology is the solution in health and safety. Not at all.
yeah, yeah. I think I've said to a few people, I think there's a place for it somewhere,
Sure.
absolutely, but it's not a
Yeah.
replacement.
No, can be. Can be.
No, no,
I still got to put on my safety boots. AI is not going to do that for me.
no, for sure. Yeah,
So,
for sure. So if you look back over your 27-year career, how have you seen the regulatory frameworks evolve? And have they evolved the right way, or do you think we're going too far? Are we not doing enough?
well, there is a point, and I've observed that because I keep tabs on what's happening around the world, what kind of incidents are happening, and a lot of regulators just hide behind the regulations. They don't say, hey, let's get in a conversation. How can we fix this? How can we do this better? No, they just say, hey, you made a mistake. Here's your fine. I say, no, let's get to the table. Again, let's have the conversation. What are we missing? Where can we improve? Where can we better work together? I had a really interesting conversation a couple of weeks ago in the United States, where you have the OSHA. They're as flexible as a piece of steel. They just come to your site, they write citations, and fix them. And if you don't fix them in time, you get a fine. And I'm like, let's not work that way.
It's very
I,
similar here too.
I'm like, wow, yeah. I read a message today that you guys had another severe incident at the mine in Kobar or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when you read the responses from the regulators, oh, well, we don't know nothing yet. I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
come on. It's
Yeah.
it's a human thing. We
Yeah.
just lost two human lives. Let's break down these walls and let's sit together. Let's make sure we stop it from happening again. Where can we improve? What can we do? What is our part of it? What is your part of it? Now, we're still far away from where we need to be in health and safety.
How do you? I know where this is going to go. How do you react, and how do you manage businesses when they sit there and say human error, human error? It's always human error. Bloody humans.
I asked them how they come up with that.
Yep.
I just look at them and say, how did you come up with that? What is behind the human error? Have you looked at that? What's your processes? What's your systems? What's their motivation? Is there a supervisor that's standing behind them? Get it done now, get it done now, get it done now. And if they make a mistake, you're going to kick them out of the business because they made a mistake. I said, you got to look at what's behind.
Mhm.
And then we get into the conversation. Are you going to fire the people or not? Yeah, we already fired them. Why? I prefer to keep them on because if I show them what can be done better, they will never make that same mistake again. But now I need to hire somebody new, train somebody new. The cost of that is way higher. So I
Mm.
think we're looking at things in the wrong way.
Yeah, fair call. Yeah, absolutely. What's one of the hardest change initiatives you've ever led?
A whole cultural change at a company in Latin America.
Yep.
There was two camps. There was the CEO with his people and the COO with his people. The COO wanted to change this. The CEO wanted to bring his people in, and they were just as rigid as could be. And that ultimately led to the COO and his team leaving the company, and ultimately to fatalities inside the company. And then they say, we should have, we could have, we would have, but it's too late. Already lives are lost.
Mm.
So leading that cultural change, and then after that, they threw it all out the window. I mean, let's 67% improvement in injury rates in 4 months, and then we augmented production by 12%. And just because there was this inner fighting, they threw that all out, brought in a whole new people, and boom, everything went down the drain. So that
That's
was a real tough one to take. I took that one on the chin.
that's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, that's tough.
I don't understand it. I ask, what are you thinking? What are you smoking? What are you drinking? I mean, let's get real here.
Yeah.
But a lot of people they sit with these tunnel vision, and this is the way they've always done it. So this is the way it's always worked, and it hasn't worked, not to the standard that you could reach if you opened your eyes a little bit.
Mm.
So it's really
Mm.
tough. People's attitudes. I always say attitude is everything.
Mm.
If you have the wrong attitude, it's not going to come together. If you have the
Yeah.
right attitude, there is solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. So over your career, I'm going to make an assumption you've managed multiple sites, and I'm going to assume in multiple locations, maybe even multiple countries. How do you
Yep.
manage your time?
Um, well, like I said, I work with a company that was represented in 24 different countries. I had a buddy who loved one particular country, so the other 23 were mine. I spent about 75% of my time on the road. Uh, at the time, I was young and crazy, and I loved it. Different cultures, different countries, learned different things, learned different languages, ate different things. At that time, it was okay. now that I'm not that young anymore, I need to manage that time better. Um, my wife and my wife usually travels with me, so when I come back to the hotel room or the suite, there's usually a home cooked meal. So we manage our relationship that way, but also our mental and physical health. But 7 weeks on the road straight is not good. You're both
No.
exhausted when you get back home. So it's important to do time management if you want to run the marathon. If it's just a sprint, you can do all the crazy things you want. But not getting any younger, you need to manage that time properly because your recovery time gets longer and longer and longer. So
Yeah.
time management is huge. And then it didn't matter. Oh man, I was 80% of my time I was on the way on the road and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's not so great. We
It's not.
really need to manage our time well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Has there been a mentor for you that stood out throughout your career? Is
Yes, I've had several mentors that really stood out. One of those was in Chile, a Chilean man. Um, he really was a visionary, just like myself. We connected really, really well. We looked at safety differently. It was a human thing. He would shut down the mine site and say, "Let's bring all the families in so they can see what we're doing." And that really speaks to me because the more the people around us know about us, the easier it becomes. And in my when I started my coaching career, Dr. Shane Tracy has been my everything. I call him now Papa Shane because unfortunately my father passed away a few years back, and he's filling in that role in his own way quite nicely. But he's brought me from where I was coming out of the jungle barefoot to now being a globally respected master coach, and that is he was the instigator on that. I learned so much from these people.
yeah,
Um, there's also other people where I've learned a lot from, even though they don't know it as well, because we haven't had these interactions. But their style, what they say, what they do, really speaks to me, and I adopt some of that as well.
yeah, yeah. Is there a is there an author or a book or a podcast other than this one that's your go-to for professional development?
No, not really. About a month ago, I did another podcast. Was invited there to speak about the assessment process, the online evaluations, the psycho assessments, and a little bit about the safety coaching as well. Uh, Other than that, not really a guidance. I'd like to get my own stuff to the market because I know it's going to make a big change.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
I'm surrounded by the right people right now that are helping to make this happen.
Yeah.
Uh, and you're one of them.
Thank you. I'll take that. Thank you. Um, what legacy do you want to leave behind for the for safety?
What legacy? I want to make a big change. I want when everybody's standing around my God, they say he made it happen. He made an impact. A lot of lives are saved. If you look at the International Labor Organization, they do annual research on incidents and deaths and illnesses around the workplace. Um, I read one of their reports, and in one year they had 340 million incidents around the globe in one year of people that got injured. 160 million that people left their work ill. Every 11 seconds, according to that report, somebody died in the workplace due to a work related incident. If I can move that 11 seconds up to 22, I've solved half of the deaths in the world. And that's the legacy that I want to leave.
Yeah.
I want to make an impact where people actually go home in the same way they came to work.
I haven't heard those statistics, and I must admit I'm now going to go and have a bit of a read and have a look up. But they're pretty sobering statistics. You know, we talked earlier about safety first, and dare I use those scary words, zero harm. God, I hate those words.
Uh,
You know, how's safety first and zero harm working out for you now when you hear those statistics?
Well, it just means that we're saying things, but we're not doing it.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
not. We're not walking the talk. We're walking the talk, but we're not actioning.
yeah,
So actually, it's getting worse
yeah, yeah,
around the world.
absolutely.
It's getting worse. So
Uh,
we're not doing enough.
no, I've said to people, we're working with some of the biggest companies in the world, biggest mining companies, that sort of stuff, and they've got budgets for their safety department that make your eyes water. And guess what? People are still being injured. People are still being killed.
Yeah,
It's
it's
That's the reality.
so my legacy will be that I got that covered for a large portion and that it's visible. Not exactly with my name attached to it.
No,
I don't care
yeah,
about that. But as
yep.
long as people go home safe and start enjoying their lives with the money that they're making in their jobs, then I can say, hey, I helped make that happen. And that should be my legacy.
So, with that in mind, what do you think's the biggest thing, the number one thing that has to change in the safety industry to make that happen?
The way we do safety. Safety is regulated. There is rules, there is procedures, there is instructions. It's a very rigid leadership style, and we need to change that to a conversational style. And I go back to this way of coaching. Because I really think that this is going to change the way safety is done. We need to have conversation. Why is this important? The company says do this, and you do it. I'll tell you a story if I may.
Go for it.
A while ago, I was at a mining site in Mexico. There was a guy working there, and everything. He stepped outside, he took off his glasses. And it was mandatory in that area to wear your safety glasses. So Marcel walks by, he sees me coming, puts his glasses on. So the fifth time I stopped and said, hey, how's it going? And he's looking at me suspiciously, like he's going to scream at me or he's going to punish me. There's something coming. So I said, listen, what are you doing here? He said, I work here. I said, but why do you work here? Then he said, oh, I need to make money. I said, why do you need to make money? Well, I need to provide for my family. Where's your family? Well, 300 kilometers away. I said, so why are you here if your family is there? He said, I told you I need to make money. He said, okay, so you're here to work, to make money for your family. I said, tell me about your wife. Is she pretty? And he said, yeah, I think my wife's pretty. I said, do you have kids? He said, yeah, 5 and 3. I said, okay, so your family lives far away. So I understand you're working on a roster of 10 by 10, 7 by 7, 20 by 10. He said, yeah, 20 by 10. I said, so there's 10 days when you go home. What's the first thing you do when you get home? And he said, I hug my wife. I said, and then what do you do? He said, I go play outside with my children. And I said, how would that change if you can't see your family? He thought that would be a disaster. So I grabbed his glasses, put him on his eyes, said, so protect him. Don't do it for the company. Don't do it because the procedure says it. Don't do it because it's mandatory. Do it for your own quality of life.
Mm,
He became my best ambassador for PPE, because I gave him his why, but I engaged in conversation. So I gave him a value of doing it safe and what he got in return. And,
yep.
and I think that's where we need to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Um, Number one bit of advice you would give someone who's entering the field now?
Uh, Let somebody that knows what they're doing mentor you. Find a mentor that has some experience, that has a vision for how safety should be done. Get mentored by somebody, hook on to somebody. Don't do it all by yourself, and just be a sponge. Soak it up, everything there is to learn. Soak it up, and start applying it. And then get feedback from your mentor. Get
Mm,
mentoring, or get a coach, or get somebody that guides you to the process in the beginning.
yeah, I agree. I like that. All right, let's get to know the real Marcel. Let's really hit the nitty gritty, Marcel. You a morning person or a night person?
I'm a morning person.
Rapid fire questions. Let's not overanalyze the answers. Just hit me. Morning person, night person.
Morning.
Okay, why? What's about mornings for you?
I am most productive when I'm up early.
I'm the same.
Usually by 9 o'clock at night, my eyes are slowly shutting down because it's enough for the day. So morning person, absolutely. I get more done in my morning than I get in my afternoon.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee,
How many a
black.
day?
About 8 a day.
Oh, jeepers, Marcel. No wonder you're bouncing. That's funny. Um, favorite cuisine?
Favorite cuisine. I really love Asian cuisine, but like I told you, I'm married to a chef. Man, I eat like a king every single day. But
Yeah, I've got to say I'm a little bit envious.
Asian is definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, cool, cool. First concert you ever went to?
What's that name? That lady that was in the Netherlands. I forget her name. She was a Latin lady. I didn't like it at all because it was too crowded.
Okay.
Everybody's bouncing up against you, so no, didn't like it.
Um, music genre.
Um, I like soft rock. I love rock and roll. Every once in a while, I like classic. It depends a little bit on my mood as well.
Yeah, fair call, fair call. Okay. Dream car, dream motorbike. Is there one?
Maserati Levante.
Have
That's
you
my
got it?
car. No, but I'm gonna buy it. I got it on my screen here.
Got it on your vision board? We're going to make
Yeah,
it happen.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
good,
gonna
good,
happen.
good, good, good. Um, what drains you the most? What's
Oh,
that
what's
one
happening?
thing that just drains you?
Sorry?
What's that one thing that drains you? What just exhausts you?
People that are negative and negative and negative and negative. They don't see any positivity at all. That just drains my energy because there is so much positivity around us. Focus on that. Negativity drains me.
Yeah, and I can relate. How do you unwind at the end of a day?
Depends. Sometimes I just sit down with my wife. We talk about the day, how it went. We talk about our hopes, goals, and dreams. Sometimes we have a nice little glass of wine with it, or grab a meal, sit on the couch instead of at the table. Just do fun things, or we talk to family. We go shopping. I love shopping. So there's different ways we unwind, but there's
Yeah,
definitely a time for it.
yeah, for sure. Is there a hobby?
Yeah, actually, I practice martial arts. I love martial arts. I
Okay.
have three black belts in three different martial art
Jeez,
disciplines.
you are such an underachiever, aren't you?
Um, and you know what? Somebody not so long ago showed me a closed box of Lego, and I am just getting into Lego right now. Just love it putting all
That's
these pieces together. And that was your fault as well.
I know. I look, and I must admit, for those who don't know, I do love my Lego, and I do have a love hate. I can go months and months and not touch it, but there's just some days I just like that quiet time. It gives me a chance just to reset the brain. I'm
Yeah,
still doing something technical, something fun, something challenging. I love the Lego Technic stuff. I'm building a Ferrari at the moment, and it's sat on my desk for over 12 months. I didn't touch it. I
that
got
doesn't
sort of
matter.
partway through and just stopped, and then I came back to it a couple of weeks ago, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, the fun part with the Technic is they have the Formula One cars, but
Hmm,
they have the big ones, 60 centimeters long, but they also have the tiny little ones for the grandchildren. So we can work on our own cars, which look the same in
absolutely.
the end. So,
I will say, just talking Lego and some of the stuff you've talked about today, in 2014, I did 29 weeks away from home, and it's a tough slog. You are so right. It's hard work. It's demoralizing, and it's so bad for the mental health. But Lego was my thing. I had four young kids, and so I'd come home late on a Friday night. The kids were already in bed quite often. So come Saturday morning, that was our thing for the first 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday morning. It got poured out on the floor in the lounge room, and we all just sat there and built and played and just bonded and caught up on the previous week or 2 weeks that I've been away.
yeah,
It's such a cool way to do it.
yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
Yeah, and I think it's important. God, we're getting serious again. I think it's important, as you say, when you're dealing with high stress jobs, you've got to have that thing that just grounds you and reconnects you with reality. I guess, for want of a better word.
Yeah, it's also important to enjoy the simple things of life.
Yeah,
I did one project in Columbus, Mississippi, and we were half an hour away from the house where Elvis Presley was born.
yeah,
So instead of going directly back to the hotel, pack it up the next day we go, just make the detour and go out, take some pictures and walk inside, and it just changes everything. You just
does.
had a very busy day and suddenly you're talking about something completely different. So these things help too.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, for sure. Of all the places you've travelled over your years, what'd you say, 69 countries, whatever it was, what's been your favourite country and why?
My favorite city in the whole wide world is
Yeah,
Medellin, Colombia. I find the people so friendly. It has an atmosphere there, the nightlife. It's just such an experience. And every time I went there, I got the same experience. Great people, great culture, great food, great weather. It's the city of the forever spring. No jacket needed. That was I really enjoyed that. But in reality, there's a lot of beautiful countries out there.
yeah,
If you really know what you're seeing, understanding what you're seeing, there's a lot of beauty out there. I was in Venezuela. I mean, it's not a great country to be in, but the beaches there, the waters there, it's so drop dead gorgeous. It's too bad it's poorly managed, but there is so much beauty in the world.
yeah,
Been several times in Australia as well. There's so much to see there. It's just what do you want to get out of it is what you get out of it.
yeah, absolutely. Given the amount of travel you've done, is there still a bucket list place you'd love to go to that you haven't yet?
I don't think so. I think I've seen most places that I want to go. I want to take my wife on a cruise holiday to the Bahamas. That's on my
Yeah.
bucket list. She deserves it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Funny, I interviewed Jess Urquhart earlier this week, and Jess said her thing's cruises as well. She's just taken her kids on a cruise and her family, and yeah, she's loves them. Absolutely loves the lifestyle, and yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we're done a little bit with Mexico right now. It's time to
yeah.
move on.
Okay, like literally pack up and relocate.
Yep.
And where are you thinking?
I don't know. I think eventually I want to go back to Europe.
Okay. Would you go back
Not
to
tomorrow.
Netherlands or not likely?
No, absolutely not. I
Okay.
don't like these square-headed people. They, well, you know what they say about the wooden shoes, wooden head, wouldn't listen.
Oy. All right, I'm leaving that one alone. Just for the record, he's Dutch. He can say that. I'm not. I'm not saying it. I must admit, I've had many conversations about living abroad, and I've said to a few people, I would love to, perhaps go rent some. Let's. I don't know where. Let's just say Spain for 1 year. Go and rent. If I don't like it, cool. Let's go to Italy for a year. Go rent. Don't like it, cool. Let's go to Denmark, and you can do
Yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting.
yeah, but being stuck in one
That's
place,
been
I
really.
mean,
Sorry,
it's
mate.
not
I
going to
missed
happen
that.
overnight. It's not going to happen
No.
overnight because there's a lot of prep to be done yet. But eventually, that's the goal.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, okay. Out of interest, how many languages do you speak?
Five.
Unreal.
I
Again, an
speak French,
underachiever. I love it.
French, German, Dutch, Spanish, and English,
Good work. Good
and doing a
work.
little bit on my Mandarin.
Now, that's a challenging language.
Oh man, it breaks my tongue every single time I start practicing.
Yeah.
But I will manage.
I wouldn't have picked you for a person who's got drive. Who would have thought? Awesome. All right. As we wind this up, Marcel, this has been really interesting. And I got to be honest, I reckon I could talk to you for hours about your experiences. But you're working on this safety coaching program at the moment, and you're about to go live with it. Let's talk to everyone about that. What's this program about? What are you doing?
The safety coaching process indeed is about having these conversations. I mean, it sounds a little simplistic, but it's based on the newest psychology, how we interact with people. I could talk about this for hours, but it's about having conversations, changing our leadership style, a transformational experience for everybody involved. If you look
Yep.
at it, the modern workplace is undergoing profound transformation. So everything is evolving rapidly and continues to evolve. So shifting demographics, social changes, evolving businesses with their imperatives, and these factors are creating an environment where traditional leadership and supervision models no longer suffice. So we need to do something different. So I think the safety coaching stuff is the first step for us. Shortly after, we're coming with the supervisor slash leader as coach, where we're going to do similar things. But I think it's right time right now, and it's needed.
Yep.
It's essential to start changing this.
So it's a 3 day program. Is there pre-course, post-course work as well?
There's the official training is 3 days. There's a little bit homework up front. We ask people to do a little bit of an assessment, of several assessments, psychometric assessments, so they can understand who they are, how they see the world, what certain skills they have, and that'll help us to guide them in the 3 days. After the training, they're required to hand over a coaching plan in order to have that certification.
Yep. Yep. Awesome. And who's it certified with?
It's certified through the IICP, International Institute of Coaching Practice. It's an international certification, and it's valid. Um, it's going to work. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to have some prestige to it, and it's going to add a lot of value for companies that engage in this process, because we're literally going to change the way things are done in a positive way.
What do you think sets this program apart from other coaching and leadership programs that are out there?
Well, I've researched this for years. I came out with it in 2018 the first time, and it wasn't non-existing then. It's still non-existing now. A lot of people say, "Yeah, we're doing coaching programs." There is first aid training companies that suddenly are first aid coaches, but they keep doing the same thing. We're actually implementing a coaching process. Coaching is a buzzword. Everybody wants to be a coach. Everybody wants to do coaching, but you have to actually start doing the process. We're not just into selling you a product. No, we want that transformation to happen because we're all passionate about getting it right in the workplace as personal development, but also organizational development.
Yeah, awesome. It sounds good. It sounds exciting, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it launch. I think it's going to be really good. I
It's,
definitely look forward to it.
it's going to be
Mas,
fantastic.
yeah, it's going to be good. Thank you, Marcel. Thank you for your time. This is, as I said, been a really interesting conversation. I could probably do many hours talking to you with your experiences. It's quite fascinating. Thank you very much for your time. If there was one bit of advice you would give any person in the safety industry right now, just very quickly, what is it? Last bit of advice.
Think before you act.
Yeah, yeah, I got to agree. Thank you, Marcel. Appreciate it. To everyone listening, please let us know your thoughts. Please like and share the podcast with friends and family that you think might be interested. And yeah, we'll look forward to talking on the next one. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thank you.